Welcome to the Hogstye, Redskins fans. Not a whole lot happened this week, just Gruden's extension, big-name player releases, a couple intriguing signings, Scott McCloughan's firing, the dumpster fire that is the Redskins front office, Kirk Cousins signing his franchise tender, fan protests, and, so much more. No work needed to fill the airwaves this week, so don't go away. Hogstye's coming up next.
Welcome to the Hogstye with your crew, Adam Terrassi, Alex Zeese, Sean Conti, and Steve Thomas. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Got it there. We're back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Glad to be with you. Sean Conti here. Everybody's ready to jump into this crazy shitstorm. How you doing, Alex Zeese?
Oh, I'm great. I've been listening to talk radio all week. It's got to be fun if you are a sports radio host and all you have to do is just write Redskins as your agenda for the entire week. And that's it. It's one sentence, one word even.
Seriously, like I said, there's no work required to fill the airwaves for anyone. I feel like, how you doing through all this mess, Jamal?
I'm doing all right, man. Thursday, I was, like everybody, pretty pissed. But, as the day goes on, you just realize it's the same old. So I'm starting to feel a little bit. Exactly, I'm starting to feel a little bit better.
Nice. What about you, Mr. Steve?
Yeah, well, I like weeks like this because for those of us who are who do these sports shows and radio shows, like Alex said, there's no question about the agenda because the peek behind the curtain here is we've had weeks in the off season where we're like collectively going, oh God, how are we going to fill an hour or something interesting?
Last year was the worst.
Yeah, with no drama at all, and we did. I can't tell you how many position group breakdowns we did, and we didn't need to do, and it went on forever.
That month or so after the draft, it can kill.
But this week there's no.
I don't think we're going to.
No, but this week there's no question. We actually have lots and lots to talk about here. So very excited. It's rainy and a little bit chilly here in Texas, but that aside, I'm very excited.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah,
I'm hunkering down for about 2 feet of snow here.
Oh, it's down to 70 degrees here now, so I'm getting a little cold.
I don't want that at all, Alex. I don't. They talking about it's supposed to be hitting here Tuesday. This is weather is so backwards in the DMV. That's supposed to happen in January, not heading towards spring at all.
Yeah.
Well, the temperature plummeted to 70, highs of 70 today, so I'm not too happy about that.
That's brutal. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I have no sympathy for any of you guys. You're dealing with this now. I've been dealing with this for months, and I got another month to go. So deal with it. Deal with the snow. All right. Well, let's jump into it. You guys had a great point. I wanted to jump into the negative stuff because, like we said, there's so GD much of it this week. But you guys had a good point. Let's talk about some positive things, maybe. So we've made a couple prominent signings to the team. So let's maybe welcome the new guys to kick off, perhaps. I think the big names there are probably Mr. DJ Swearinger of Arizona Cardinals fame and Mr. Terrell Pryor of the Cleveland Browns fame. So are you guys really excited about these two guys? I am definitely very excited.
Well, let's start with DJ Swearinger, because this is a guy, if people will recall, Redskins fans were all gaga over in 2013 during the draft, and we were all praying that DJ Swearinger would be Redskins. Well, the time has come. Now, the issue with DJ is that he's played both positions in safety. He's played the free safety high, and he's played in the box. He's probably a better in the box safety than he is a pure free safety, but he's still, I think, the best free safety we've had around here in a long time. So it's it definitely fills a need. And if I were D'Angelo Hall, I'd be worried. Because DJ is going to be the starter. There's no doubt that DJ is going to be the starter. The question is going to be whether he's got the range and athleticism to play single high safety when we're facing passing teams. That can flood the back zones on the triple vertical routes and stuff. That's going to be the question if he's that kind of good free safety to me.
Yeah, and I think you're making a really good point, Steve, because I was watching a bunch of Swearinger highlights. I'm not dogging his game at all, but it seems like he's really, really good against the run. He's one of those really, really tough guys. He likes to, jump on in there. He likes to blitz. They use him in that way a lot.
Likes to hit hard. That's what I saw in the highlights.
He likes to hit hard, yeah. extremely physical. I think Steve's making a good point. You have to wonder, there's probably going to be a ton of pressure on that safety position on our defense, and you just have to hope he's that good against teams that dare to pass. I think Steve's exactly right there. That's the only question. I don't want to dog him.
I'm not
he's
dogging
huge,
him. I mean,
but,
I'm just saying everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's his strength. I'm glad to have him.
Now, I think the best thing for us is the price that we got him at. I'm pretty sure, Steve, you know the details of the contract, but from what I remember, I think he got $6 million up front and I guess $4 million annually. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the numbers that I remember. But at the same time, it's somebody who can start immediately for you, but you get him at a cheap price right now. So if things don't work out down the road, which I doubt it doesn't work out. But if things don't work out down the road, you cut your losses. But Swearinger is a guy who plays well in the box, and I think he does the same role that Sewell Cravens will probably play. But the thing is, he's really aggressive. He's aggressive at the line of scrimmage and things like that you already spoke of. So it's interesting to have somebody similar to Sewell, somewhat. We'll see how Manusky wants to use both of those two guys.
Well, and I like that personally. I think you need versatility. It always helps you to make it so the offense can't tell, or who's covering deep, who's blitzing.
Yeah.
This whole you have one guy who's a dedicated free safety thing. It's great if you have them, but if not, you can do a lot with it. If you have two guys who can kind of play both roles.
Yeah, but remember, I mean, when you're talking about the formation, if sort of the Redskins' standard formation is last year at least was a cover 3, and from a where they're lining up standpoint, it's abundantly obvious unless they're trying to disguise cover 3. It's abundantly obvious he's a free safety. Now, what sometimes some teams do is they'll try to disguise cover 3 by having the strong safety back up, so it looks like a cover 2. Where they're playing deep quarters, and then at the last minute, the strong safety will come up. I mean, that's how to disguise it.
Or you'll see them put everyone at the line, and one guy will drop back last minute.
Yeah, I mean, from a contract standpoint, DJ has pretty good contract. It was $13.5 million total value, and you were right, Jamal. It was $6 million. It's guaranteed at signing, $9 million total guaranteed. He's got a cap hit this year of $2 million base and a $3.3 million cap hit this year, which isn't too bad.
I'm sorry, how many years was it?
It's a 3-year contract, and it goes.
Gotcha.
Next year's cap hit is $4.3 million, so it goes up. But his dead money next year is only $2.7 million. So if it doesn't work out, he's here this year, but he can be gone next year. So it's a pretty good contract. For a starting free safety.
We're going to get into the little Bruce Allen thing in a little bit, but one thing you got to say is the contracts we sign under the Bruce regime versus the Vinny regime have always been a lot more team-friendly.
Yeah.
In terms of long-term planning.
Well, that's
and
also
stuff
because
like
we're not signing Albert Hainsworth,
That helps too. Although I would say DJ Swearinger probably one of the top 2 or 3 safeties that was out here in free agency.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I think so.
Top 5.
I think so.
Top 5? That's fair.
Yeah, top
I mean, so, I think this is a good signing. We haven't had let's be honest. We've never replaced Sean Taylor. It's almost like the team's been afraid to replace Sean Taylor and find an elite.
They're not afraid to. They
safety.
just haven't been able to find one. We've tried and tried and tried. We've drafted several, and none of them ever work out. They haven't burned a first-round pick.
Draft Bakari Rambo?
Yeah. I mean, wasn't he a second-round?
He's like
Landry? Didn't we?
Chris
Landry
Martin,
came in when
like
Taylor was still around.
Landry was drafted to be
I'm
a strong
forgetting.
safety, to Sean's free safety. But yeah, I mean, Bakari. There's been others. Jamal, you just rattled off a couple.
I just don't think we've ever It's not like we've ever drafted one in the first round or anything.
Oh yeah, definitely not top 5.
Well, and Sean Taylor was a once in a generation talent. I mean, you just don't fall into Sean Taylor,
No, that's true. Fair enough. But I speaking of, I do love how Swearinger came in and like his first video he posted was, "I want to be for you what Sean Taylor was." I think he's the 64th of all the 64 starting safeties in the NFL who idolizes Sean Taylor these days. It seems like this entire generation just grew up idolizing him.
I respect it.
Makes
and the
sense.
same thing, Sewell did the same thing last year.
Yeah.
That's why he got the jersey number that he has now. So a lot of people respect him and love Sean Taylor. So I don't blame him. Hopefully they can, have some resemblance. everybody's not going to play like him, but have some type of resemblance out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any comparison would be welcomed here.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, before we talk about Pryor, I would just mention real quick the two Irish twins, as Alex calls them, which is a great nickname for them.
Yeah.
These are two run-stopping defensive linemen, so let's talk about them. And I feel like the combination of them and Swearinger, I feel like it's obvious that we're really gearing towards shoring up that run defense. I'm sorry. So what's the word on these guys? What do you hear about these guys? Obviously,
you're talking about Terrell McClain and Stacey McGee. Stacey McGee being with the Raiders, Terrell McClain being
we're talking about
from,
the Irish twins.
Dallas. McClain is probably the higher. It has the higher, bigger name. You know, he started all year for Dallas last year. McGee has been a sort of a backup, a rotational guy. He's got that having been said, they both have pretty good sized contracts. So I mean, you have to think that they're probably looking at both to start. Now, Adam Tarasky isn't here with us today, but I mean, Adam's view on McGee, if I can speak for him, was that he's kind of a rotational guy. I think the downside, and it should be said that we lost Chris Baker. I mean, you guys out there know that. I think, to me, both of these guys, like Sean said, are more run stoppers, not pass rushers in the middle. And so, Baker, has his faults like everybody, but he was a decent pass rusher up the middle. And so I think
I would say he was a good pass rusher up the middle.
Yeah, and so I think we're losing the pass rush. Has lost something with the arrival of these two guys unless they perform, better than we would expect at that skill. So I'm happy they're here. One of them is kind of McLean's probably the replacement for Baker. Probably better against the run, less against the pass would be my guess.
Well, and McGee is the one that everyone's describing as the two-down lineman, right,
Yes.
as far as being a rotational guy. So he is kind of being viewed as more of a nose tackle, I guess, versus someone who can line up at D-end, or I know a lot of the times we're going to have just two linemen anyway, if we stick with the same system we had last year.
And we don't know what system we're going to have.
That's true.
So we gotta wait
sort of
and see
up in the air.
Yeah, we gotta wait and see with them. The one thing that we're going to get to Benny Logan soon too, but a lot of people think that he can be the nose tackle for us. But so we can imagine that these two, McGee and McClain, may be on the end. But as far as these two defensive linemen, I think personally that I like it. I don't really know much about these guys per se, but if they have a reputation from not only their fans but the people who covered them as well to say that these guys were solid against the run, they were very active, and then on top of that, again, they're young. So, this is something that the reason why they didn't even offer Chris Baker a contract was not only because of the fact that he was asking for probably at least $7 million annually. That and the fact that he's about to be 30 this year going into the season. You want to go younger, and then on top of that, make sure that you shore up the run game. And I respect. That's why I respect Manusky, is because I know for a fact that his motto is no matter what, stop the run. That's what he wants to do. So pass rush will come.
Right.
We may have some people that we're not thinking about. Like I saw John Kahn talk about yesterday, Anthony Lanier. He was very active. He wasn't outstanding. Like, he wasn't very great in his first year with us, but
he's got potential.
You never know what plans You never know what plans they have for him. So we'll see. I do respect the moves. They think they can stop the run with them, make a team one-dimensional. It can work out for us. We still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we do. And Alex, Stacey McGee is not a true nose tackle. I mean, he's only 310 pounds. I mean, you're talking DT, or 4.3, DN maybe. But I mean, he's not a true nose tackle.
That understood.
Yeah, we got to talk about Benny Logan, like Jamal said, because that's another rumor that's definitely floating around here, and there may be some movement going on.
It's not a rumor. He's here
today.
Saturday. The day we're recording this, he's at Redskins Park. So we're anxiously waiting on news, on Benny Logan news.
Yeah, I'm seeing
we'll see.
A lot of stuff on Twitter of don't let him leave. Don't let him leave. You know how Redskins fans
go catch him at the airport if you have to.
Right.
Yeah, so that's definitely a rumor that's going around. I wanted to ask you guys real quick before we talk about that. I mean, just generally about Baker, were you surprised to see the Redskins didn't make more of an effort there and didn't try to, pay that salary? It wasn't that much.
No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I think Jamal
expected to see
hit
it
on the head. He's going to be 30. I think the fans No, $6 million was a contract I probably would have signed up for. Yes, but
that's a fair deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, but since he's 30 years old,
Yeah.
I think he's one of these guys that the fans are more upset about than the team is, because he's a gregarious guy. Yep. He's friendly. He's swaggy time, all that stuff. So fans just like him, and I get that. We liked him. We tried to get him on the show once, and if I recall,
right.
But I think the football side of it, we're going to be okay. Swaggy is not going to be the end. Loss of Swaggy is not the end of the world.
The biggest issue that they had with him was just they questioned his effort on each play.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that people were telling me. So
we heard that too. And, that he was the ways that the coaches felt he was taking plays off.
Exactly. So I mean, why would you risk paying somebody $7-8 million for that? I mean, $6 million is fair in Florida because of course they said no state tax, so it makes a lot of sense down there.
Right.
But up here, you probably wouldn't get him for $6 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to miss him. I think he did bring a little bit of personality to the defense.
That he did.
But, in the end, we need to get younger. This is a league where you have to constantly be rebuilding and getting younger. So, even though Baker was clearly a red chip, bordering on blue chip type player at times, 30 years old. He's got maybe 3 years left in the tank that you can be feel confident about.
Well, and listen, I mean, we have to stop the run. I mean, I don't know if people out there remember, I mean, we got run over every week. They didn't always have 130 yards, but every back was averaging 4.5 yards a carry against us. They have to, if we're going to be a good team, they just have to do it, period. And that's why you see guys that's why you see guys like McClain and McGee in here who are run stoppers.
Right.
Exactly.
We haven't had a good defense since Greg Blanche. Let that sink into you. How long ago was that?
Well, think about our drafts. I mean,
nice
I guess we drafted Preston Smith was a second-round pick. But in recent years, Kendall Fuller was a third-round pick, and he hadn't. Frankly, I wasn't that impressed with Kendall. I mean, with apologies to Adam because Adam's his friend. Murphy has been okay.
Second rounder.
I mean, we haven't drafted well on defense high in a long time. Maybe since Ryan Kerrigan.
Kerrigan.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Kerrigan's paid off.
Yeah.
Sua still has potential, and he was pretty high.
Sua's an open question.
We got to see how that pans out. But the one thing I won't miss about Baker is the fact he gets on his little Twitter rants when people talk bad about the Redskins, and then his team doesn't deliver.
Right.
Stephen A. did a number on us a few weeks into the season, and we didn't even make the playoffs. So everything, I'm tired of the complaining and all that type of stuff. That's the only negative I got about him personally. So.
Sometimes it's best to keep your mouth shut if the team's not delivering.
Don't say the league runs through you when you're clearly not the best team.
Exactly. I really don't.
Particularly when you're one of the worst defensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Maybe when he said the NFC East runs through us, he was being literal.
That's exactly right. The NFC East literally runs right through us. Well, Stephen A. said some dumb.
Actually, never thought about
a lot of dumb things about the Redskins. I like Stephen A. I'm one of the few, I guess, but he said some pretty.
I think he might be one of the only.
I don't like his partner.
I'm with Steve. I think I respect him.
I do.
Sometimes he's ill-informed.
Yeah, I don't like Max Kellerman. I think Max Kellerman is a complete moron. But Stephen A. has got some good stuff to say. But he said a lot of harsh things about the Redskins this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As an aside.
Well, I know he's happy now.
Well,
they paid off.
Of course, he hates Dallas. He hates the Dallas Cowboys, and I always respect that. So that's good.
Yeah, so let's move on from Baker. Let's talk about some of these other free agent moves that we've seen going on. Terrell Pryor is probably the other biggest name we signed other than Swearinger. How do you guys feel about Pryor? He's tall, he's big, he's going to make our receiving core automatically like a foot taller than it is on average.
Right.
That's awesome. He's an athletic guy, he's super fast. Is there any question you have about his ability on this team?
Well, let's talk about what we lost. We lost Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson. Obviously, everybody knows that. What we lost in Deshaun Jackson is.
See, I almost didn't want to even get into that because that's going to be so.
Well, I just mean, we lost something and we gained something. So, where did we end up? And Deshaun Jackson, we all know what he does. He goes deep, right? You know,
deep.
Runs a deep fly route. He runs a deep fly route. He runs the out and up. Okay, he'll run a like a square out sideline route sometimes, but that's kind of it. But he's an elite guy at what he does. Pierre is more of a complete receiver, not as much of a threat. Terrell Pryor is kind of a combination of both to a certain extent because he's fast.
That's what my first
He's big.
thought is.
He's fast. He's 6'5", approximately
240. I think.
Yeah, runs a 4.40. The thing with Pryor, and Mark Bullock, our friend Mark Bullock, showed this on Twitter. If you guys want to go back and check his timeline, he's a little raw in his route running, which is understandable because he just started being a wide receiver 2 seasons ago. But he's got a huge, gigantic, massive catch radius, and he does have some pretty good instincts as a wide receiver. And his combination of size and strength allows him to beat guys deep. I mean, he ran a lot of deep routes for the Browns last year, and the Browns had junk at quarterback. So I think he can come in and he can be a combination of both of those guys. He's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, I think, no doubt about it, for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and both of those guys that we lost are 1,000-yard receivers, so we really need him to be. Now, I would say this. I mean, I'm not necessarily the most qualified guy to talk about actual wide receiver technique, but I can kind of just, look at things and compare them to see how other similar receivers are with similar builds. So I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at, like, A.J. Green, and they are the exact same height. I feel like they're the same build, tall, thin guys, really athletic. Pryor's really, really fast, too. But I feel like there's something different. There's some different aspect in the athleticism. I feel like Pryor doesn't necessarily take hits very well. I'm not saying he's fragile, but I feel like once he gets contact, he goes down. And maybe that's part of the raw route running and being in position or whatnot. But, Steve mentioned speed and strength, and I don't know how I feel about that strength aspect. He's a big guy. He can go up and get the ball, but it seems like he gets tackled pretty easily.
Well, I think that comes from not playing wide receiver his whole life, but playing quarterback.
Yeah.
When you play quarterback, you want to go down so you don't get hurt worse. When you play wide receiver, you're going after Yak, and he's got to adjust to that. I love the signing, frankly. I kind of wish it was 8 and an option, kind of not just a 1-year prove-it deal, because I'm worried he'll prove it, and then we're going to lose him next year. We have needed a big receiver going back a long time. I don't remember the last time we had a receiver of this size. And I think if you pair him up with Josh Doxson, those issues we had in the red zone, those are going to disappear really quick next year. Provided everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
That gives whoever our quarterback is some big targets. And that excites me.
What do you think, Jamal?
Yeah, no, I agree. With the initial signing, I'm excited. But the thing is, when it comes to Pryor, the prove it deal is actually beneficial for us because we'll talk about Cousins later, but I do think that he'll be playing with us this year. And obviously, when you have somebody like Cousins at the helm and you have Pryor, assuming Josh Doxson is healthy, and you have Jamison Crowder on the outside to go with Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis at the tight end position, you have a lot of versatility. But the thing that makes
many matchup problems if you think about that.
So many matchup problems. But even though that Terrell Pryor is raw at the position that he's at right now, you have a guy with a huge catch radius, and he can get open by simply boxing defenders out by himself. He did that with Josh Norman a couple times when we played against the Browns. It's just things that a big body receiver can do that Deshaun Jackson and even Pierre Garçon, who was 6 feet and maybe 200 pounds, he couldn't do himself either. So these guys, they create different elements. And Terrell Pryor is a deep threat as well. He's not Deshaun Jackson. He can't beat you with speed and torch you, but he can get you down the field for them 50-50 balls. And that's something that we've lacked completely with both Deshaun and Pierre. We don't have opportunities for 50-50 balls. But we have that now with Josh Doxson and Terrell Pryor.
Yeah.
And Maurice Harris, who, if he can get some time on the field, we'll see. But it's just big body receivers everywhere.
I get really excited. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, you need a guy who can take the top off. I don't think you need that in Gruden's offense. What I think you will see next year is now defenses won't know who the deep threat is each play. So that's going to just make it all the harder for the defensive secondary to say, is Doxson going deep, is Crowder going deep, or is Pryor going deep? And that's going to be really hard on some of these safeties.
Well, let's talk about this. Number one, from a technique standpoint, the reason why you see so many college receivers who are speed guys don't make it in the NFL is that to me there's three ways a receiver can win a battle and catch a ball. Number one is speed. You just run by the guy.
Right.
That's something I didn't have when I played. I just wasn't fast enough. A guy like Deshaun Jackson can get open just.
It's very hard in the NFL. Everyone's
yeah,
fast.
but a guy like Deshaun Jackson is elite speeder. Brandon Cooks, Cordarrelle Patterson's. That's not. But
no, you was right.
Yeah, he's one of them. But yeah, I was
thinking of Kenny Stills probably.
Yeah, probably that was who I was trying to say. Thank you, Kenny Stills. Those guys can get open because they can just literally run by somebody, and there's nothing you can do about it unless the safety reacts. And then the second way is teams can scheme guys open. Jay Gruden is really good at this. Jay Gruden is good at hiding routes, running sort of pseudo pick plays. Having Jay Gruden is really good at scheming guys open. That's why Ryan Grant has a job, because he gets schemed open.
Right.
The third way, guys, receivers can catch balls is a guy like Terrell Pryor, who is so much stronger, so much more physical, big catch radius, can jump. He doesn't really have to beat a corner to get a ball, and that's what Jamal is talking about with the 50-50 balls, is throw it up there, and if he's going up against a 5'11 corner, 6'5 Pryor who can jump and run is probably going to catch a ball. Okay.
Randy Moss was probably the greatest all time at it.
One of them, certainly. I mean, there's a lot of good receivers. But, I mean, and Moss had speed, and Moss kind of had it all in that regard. Pryor is kind of a combo of the speed guy and size and strength guy. But he can get better with the route running. He really can. And he can go deep, too. We saw him go deep last year. So I'm really excited about the Pryor sighting. I think he's.
You've been talking about that for a while,
I mentioned it at least a month ago that he was the guy that I wanted the Redskins to sign, and he will get
77 catches, 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, and remember, Ike Hilliard,
6 quarterbacks.
Yeah, Ike Hilliard's a pretty good wide receiver coach, and he was a bigger receiver himself. So I think he's going to learn here. I think he'll learn and get better here. So I'm all for the Terrell Pryor son. I'm very excited.
Also, Gruden has been saying a lot. He really wants these coaches who will help teach more than ever.
And it's contract-wise. I mean, he's got a $6 million contract and with $2 million in incentives. The $2 million in incentives were not likely to be earned, which means they don't count against the cap. So it's an incredibly cap-friendly deal that we got for him.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I respect
that.
I
was gonna ask you, Steve, about salary cap stuff. I think did you want to give us an update on what all this means necessarily for the team moving forward?
Too many, a million details, but I finally updated the salary cap chart, folks, so we will get a new version of it up. But the bottom line is this. If you add in everybody we signed, you add in the franchise tenders that we made, and you add in the futures contracts, I had to estimate, take a stab and estimate for Terrell McLean's cap hit because it really wasn't available, so I just kind of guessed. And then you throw in guys like Ty and Secchi, who I couldn't find his contract for. If you add in everything and the dead money, right now, today, we've got about $13.5 million or so, roughly, in available cap space. And again, that's specifically estimating. I estimated Terrell McLean's cap hit at about $4 million. Because he's got $11 million bonus and then 10 spread over 4. It's about 5, so I guessed 4, and then throw in another $1 million for Insecki and Vincent Painter. So we've got about $13.5 million left. The rookie salary.
How much of that is Benny Logan going to get on his 1-year
deal? There's more to this. So the rookie salary pool this year for the Redskins is about $7.5 million, meaning that the slotted. The slotted structured payouts that of the pool that we get is about $7.5 million. So if you do some math, we've got about $6 million in available space now if they don't want to cut anybody. So we can afford to pay Benny Logan a pretty big salary. We may have to cut a guy or two down the road to make some more signings, and we will do that. So that's a brief salary cap.
By the way, I'm surprised we hadn't already
likely
done that because usually a lot of teams do cut a few people.
Well, we haven't because we don't need
to. Well, I know we didn't need to, but I'm as much as I like D'Angelo Hall,
that's one of the first people.
That's $4 million extra right there we could get.
D Hall is one.
I was thinking about Ricky Jean too, which I don't agree with Ricky.
Well, I think Ricky Jean, and I think we're going to get to this soon. I think Ricky Jean is trying to talk himself out of here. You know,
Possible.
I don't know if you heard the.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard it.
the
I
comments
Sounds
he
familiar.
made.
What did he? What
I
are the
don't
comments he
think
made?
He
I
was
wish I could
going.
get the quotes, but go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, he was going off. I can't remember if it was on NFL Sirius or it was
Sirius.
somebody. Maybe it was what's the old announcer who lives in Dallas, former quarterback, his radio show. He was basically saying, "I'm 100% on Kirk's side when it comes to his contract, and I don't know who's in charge. And Scott McCloughan was a genius, and this team is a mess." Stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
I
he was
heard
saying
that.
that.
Well,
on the
that's
air.
delightful.
Sean Salisbury, that 2 show, I think it was.
On sound.
Sounds familiar.
Yikes. Okay.
But yeah, that's
Good
definitely
luck.
what he was saying. That's one thing that people were thinking, like, yeah, he may have to go after that, or he may be talking to somebody.
Well, he's a $3 million savings if he goes. He's got $1 million, $4 million cap hit, $1 million dead cap number. So if he goes,
Personally, I like him in the rotation. That's why I hope he stays.
Yeah, I think
don't
he's a
like
great
what he said,
rotational
but,
guy.
Yeah, I really like him in the rotation. Actually, I thought it was him and Baker that was the best 2 defensive linemen on our team.
Mhm.
Or whatever.
Probably
that
our
was.
most consistent.
Yeah, that's better to say.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure the situation will clarify, obviously, as we move forward here. Now, is there any other words you guys want to get in about free agents before we move to our user poll?
I will just
No?
say I'm going to miss
Speak now.
all 3 of those guys who left, Jackson, Garcon, and Baker. They were all really
Oh my
good
God,
skins.
yes.
And I
Solemn
wish
salute.
them nothing but the best, especially since none of them went to the NFC East rivals.
thank God.
Yes, thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet moment. I think we had some really good potential signings, but yeah, I mean that's ouch.
Yeah.
It's right in the kisser there with those 2. So, Steve,
Yes.
your user poll I believe is very appropriate for our next topic. So why don't we lead off with that? What do we have? going on
Yeah,
this week?
it was a strange week in Redskins land, as we all know. Lots of things happen. So instead of giving
Fun.
you
A lot of fun.
So instead of giving you questions about players and how you think about this player, that player, we just decided to take the public's temperature about the Redskins. So the poll question this week was,
Where's your hat at, everyone?
the poll question this week was, what are your feelings about the state of the team right now? And the 4 categories we had were relax, everything's fine, starting to get concerned, big problems, but I'm still a fan, or this is just an embarrassing dumpster fire. Those were the 4 categories. And so I'll just say that we released this poll on Thursday morning, which was right as the meltdown was occurring.
Right as McCloughan. I think we released it within an hour of the McCloughan firing
Something like that,
announcement.
yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
So those are the categories. So
Ballpark.
who wants to go first here? Take a stab at what you think the public would have voted for in this poll.
Well, I don't think it's even close. I think, and I gift it. I hope I didn't taint the poll by gifting a picture of dumpster fire.
No, you did.
So
Dumpster fire?
I think that was the big fat winner.
Okay.
A giant dumpster just burning. I used a GIF from Archer because it's one of my favorite shows. So there you go.
Jamal, what do you think? What do you think the people would have voted
Okay.
for?
Same thing.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It's going to be a clean sweep, I think, Sean.
Whew. You know what? Give me the middle,
The middle
2
2 were
answers again. B and
starting
C.
to get concerned, and then there's big problems,
Okay.
but I'm still a fan.
Big problems,
Yeah.
but I'm still a fan. Starting to get concerned. Big problems, I'm still a fan.
Dumpster fire.
See, I didn't tweet any pictures. I didn't look at the poll, so
Well, you're
I'm
not
really.
on Twitter.
I know I don't do that. I'm the worst millennial ever.
It's funny that I am the one that has
okay,
to do
I'm
Twitter.
gonna-
I'm the least, social media savvy of all. Sorry, Sean. Go ahead. What
Yeah,
do you
it's
think?
bad. I am going to say big problems, but I'm still a fan. And coming out of my mouth, that doesn't even sound right. But I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going to say people said big problems, but I'm still a
Well,
fan.
folks, it was a runaway for embarrassing dumpster fire.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, really?
Say-
People?
well, and
Jesus.
I have something to say about that because I followed the poll pretty closely this week. But the final results were 60% of the votes, and we got a very good response on that. Everybody loved this poll.
Damn.
60% voted
Yeah.
for dumpster fire. 24%. You were in second. Your choice is second place, Sean. 24% voted for big
Okay.
problems, but
All
still a
right.
fan. 9%. Excuse me. 9% of you voted for starting to get concerned, and the extremely positive 7% of you out there voted for relax. Everything's fine. fine. The interesting thing about the poll is that
apparently 7% of Redskins Park voted.
No, that's not the interesting. That's not what's interesting about it, because I set the poll up for it was a 32-hour poll. It went from Thursday morning to Friday evening at about 6:00 Eastern time, and so when this started, it was an absolute runaway for dumpster fire. Up through about Thursday night, it was over 75% dumpster fire. And then once
people calmed down,
and once we started getting some free agent signings in, all of a sudden the votes started piling up for some of the other categories. So it was interesting. I think the poll, frankly, it's not a representative sample of how people feel right now. It's a conglomeration.
I think the only thing we can do, Steve, is make a similar poll next week where it's, not quite. We'll rephrase a few things, but kind of see what the poll state of the nation.
Yeah, we might do that. We might run the same poll again next week. We'll see. But if I had voted, which I did not, I would have voted for Big Problems. I'm still a fan. I don't think I don't think the situation rises to dumpster fire. I think the fans out there have dramatically and hugely and embarrassingly overreacted to what has gone on this week, in my opinion.
God, that is very funny that everyone just needed their boo-boos kissed by a couple nice free agent signings, and then the numbers went down on the poll. That's hilarious. But I mean, it makes sense. We noted, we released it at a very bad time for the team, probably.
It was just an accident. We always do the poll on Thursday morning, and that just happened to be what was going on.
Yeah,
Thursday morning.
I don't think it was an accident. I think I suggested it quite on purpose.
No, but the timing of the poll was just accidental.
Oh yeah.
Alex, this was Alex's poll idea, but we talked about that early in the week, and it came out.
Yeah, we talked about it Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, and it just happened to come out right in the middle of a whirlwind of fan chaos.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I understand why you're trying to be a little more calm about it. You have to admit, when is the last time a team fired its GM right at the start of free agency? I don't know if it's ever happened. Like, day one of free agency, we announced that our GM was gone.
I mean,
that's unreal.
Okay, let's talk. So the news, obviously, that everybody knows, the team fired Scott McLuhan. It came with a ton of controversy. The general backstory was that depends on who you ask, but in some circles there was a lot of controversy and conflict between Bruce Allen and Scott McLuhan. In other circles it was because Scott McLuhan has been drinking again, supposedly. And I'll just say, I think we as a show heard some rumors that Scott was drinking weeks ago, before any of this kind of came out. And so we didn't.
But we
did restrain ourselves because we didn't know what was true or not true, and we weren't Chris Cooley at the time.
We're not going to speculate on things like that. Even if we do have an inside person telling us a few things, we don't want to speculate.
But the real point is that if the Hogsty heard this, all of the beat writers and everybody who's around Redskins Park all heard about it, And so the real question to me was somebody spreading that rumor, or was it actually true? And that's the part we didn't know, and we still don't know to this day. So that's the controversy. What do you guys think about it? Give me your opinions about the Scott McLuhan firing.
Yeah.
Sean?
Well, I'd be happy to throw my hat in the ring there.
Go for it.
This is what I don't get. I feel like, look, like we just said, we don't want to speculate on unsubstantiated rumors. I feel like the rumors in this case, considering what's gone down, I would, there's a big part of me that expects them to be true. I'll tell you what really doesn't make sense to me is that this whole thing has been going on for a couple weeks. Okay, Scott's been out of the public eye for a little while. Clearly, there's been some lead up to this. What I don't understand is exactly Alex's point. Why is it that there was so much time that led up to this, and then we fire him right at the start of free agency? In business, you really can't afford, I feel like, to waffle like that, especially in the football business at this time of the year. Really, really strange. So my whole thought on it is, makes sense to fire him because if these rumors are true, it makes sense. But I really don't understand. It's a classic mishandling. It's a classic Redskins mishandling of the whole thing. You should have nipped it right in the bud when he was drinking, or whatever happened when it started. That's when it should have ended.
And I think that's a good point. I would say there are two times in the year you can fire your general manager. This is like standard sports. You either fire him right at the end of the season, you're done, there's no postseason, you fire your GM,
right.
kind of like you would do with the head coach. Or you fire him right after the draft and all the free agency stuff is over. To fire him in the middle is absurd. You don't fire a GM in the middle of the year. You don't fire him in the middle of this whole offseason. This is the most important time to have that person there, even if he's just a figurehead. I don't care if he's just sitting in his office pissed drunk. You have him there. You have him come to the combine, and you just have him sit in the bleachers and watch.
Right.
There is a old school keep up appearances mentality that you have to look like a professional organization.
I mean, if he had come into work drunk the day they fired him, I understand. Okay, like someone comes into work shit-faced, and that's bad. You gotta let that person go, most likely.
Well,
but that's not what happened here. Like this clearly has been going on for a while, and then the team finally made that decision.
And here's where I'll counter that, and because I think this has been reported enough, and I know enough reporters have said this. The Redskins are a drunk office, and this isn't just Scott.
Well, fuck.
There are reports that Bruce Allen has a cooler full of beer every day in his office, that Dan Snyder has alcohol and a bar in his office. This is a heavy drinking NFL office. And I don't know if that's true for everybody.
I can speak to that. I can speak to that. I was not in the office I worked. I was not an employee of the team. I represented the team, and I was there a lot. That having been said, I wasn't in the inner circle, but I did interact with the GM. I did interact with the team president, the marketing people. I never saw tons and tons of heavy drinking. They were football guys, and football guys are kind of hard living, in some respect. But
they're kind of old boy, in a little bit.
Yeah, and I was dealing with more of the business people. I'll say that as a caveat too. But I didn't see in the team I worked for primarily. I did work for two of them, but I was in the building for one of them. Didn't see coolers full of alcohol. Didn't see guys drinking at noon. Didn't see Crown Royal laying around. I think it's more of a Redskin thing than an NFL thing. But Jamal, what do you think?
Right.
Well, as far as that, you have two teams that you've worked for.
Yeah.
One that you've been, like you said, you've been in the building for one of them. But it's kind of hard to say specifically. It's just a Redskins thing. People have the perception because the Redskins they have the perception of dysfunctional organization, and so it's kind of like you don't want to make it seem like this is all Redskins in terms of the amounts of alcohol that they had in their building, because it may very well be, you said you've been with two, it may very well be 27, 28 other teams.
Could be.
It could be. So I just wanted to say that right quick. As far as the entire situation, it's just unfortunate. When you have Scott, a guy who's struggling with his demons, and you have guys like Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen, he's trying to necessarily make power moves. It's just unfortunate because it's hard. You can't really say which side you believe more, but there's enough things out here that's factual to say, okay, this just got out of hand. And that you don't have to believe every side, but you do have to know that there's enough evidence to know that things from both sides happen. And it's just unfortunate. I keep saying that because it's true, but you just,
it is true.
Yeah, you just can't take one side over the other. You just have to. It's a sensitive situation where just got out of hand. It got sloppy. Both sides were throwing dirt. Scott's wife was on Twitter throwing dirt. Then you have Bruce Allen, through Mike Jones of the Washington Post, who has been reporting these things from Scott's side, saying that Bruce Allen was making moves to plan to get rid of Scott. All these type of things, like it comes from both sides, man. And it's just a very sensitive situation.
Yeah, I hear you, Jamal, and I don't mean to suggest I've been in every front office. That was just my observation of one really one front office. I was that. Having said, I was in that office quite a bit and never saw it. But from my opinion on this, I'm going to take a little bit more of a one-sided view on this, I think, than you did, Jamal. I'm not on the Fire Bruce train. I mean, that became a hashtag, Fire Bruce or Fire Bruce Allen, and people were out there, burning him in effigy, basically. I think my reading of the tea leaves on this is, yes, the Redskins are a dysfunctional front office. Yes, it starts at the top. I respect Dan Snyder in some ways, but I don't think he's been a good owner in terms of promoting a functional, stable football organization. In some respects,
Sure.
I think
Right.
Bruce Allen has a lot of strengths that people don't really give him credit for or realize. A lot of the stuff he does behind the scenes, the stadium, the Richmond training camp, the business side, all that he's really good at. He's not a particularly great at talent evaluation. That's his weakness. My reading of the tea leaves here was I think that there was less conflict between Bruce and Scott than maybe some people think. I think Scott's drinking probably was the primary reason for his dismissal. I think that's.
I mean, can we be honest here with
Yeah, go
that?
ahead.
I mean, it has to
Yeah,
be,
of
right?
course
I
it
mean,
is, in my opinion.
I mean, what else could it be? Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, I'm right there with you because what else really could it be?
I don't know if you guys have
There's
ever
no other
supervised
reason.
anybody. I was in the military, and so I supervised a lot of people, and sometimes you have to lie for people. You have to lie to the public. You have to lie to other branches. You have to lie to your boss about them to protect people sometimes. And that happens, and I think that happened here. But also at some point, if alcohol in a workplace becomes enough of a problem, you just got to let the guy go. I disagree with you, Alex, when you say even if he's drunk, you just sit him out there. At some point, you kind of have to end that. And I think that's probably where we got to with Scott McLuhan. You can't just send a drunk. Again, I don't want to say we don't know. I'm just going on what we've been told and what the media reports said. We don't know whether any of this was true. Let's be clear about that.
No, we have no idea.
But my point was more there are times in the year when you should fire your GM. If you're having problems, and from what the Redskins are saying, there have been problems going on for
But if it just
months.
became untenable, though, I mean, you just can't let it go. At some point, you just got to cut bait. I mean, the scouting staff is still there. You're really talking about only the decision maker. They didn't fire the whole scouting department. They just fired the leader. Right.
The one thing I do have with the situation is just that when it comes to Bruce Allen, I understand, Steve, I agree with you completely in terms of where you stand. I don't have a problem with that. That's very fair. The one thing that I do have with Bruce Allen and the organization within itself is just how they handled the entire situation. And that will give a lot of fans cause for them to believe that it's not Scott drinking. When you hear stories that come out in the Washington Post that gives fans perspectives from not of the organization, but from Scott's perspective of what's going on, you're like, okay, well, this funeral, not fake, because obviously grandma died, so sorry about that. But when you give this funeral excuse, when you give the fact that when you tell the media that he's going to be back when he finishes his family situations, his family matters, and he's fired before he even he's never even set back in the Redskins park. When you have these type of things going on, then you build up the animosity and the disdain that you have for Bruce Allen. And now that's why people are so pissed off. And I even got pissed off at Bruce Allen, because you got to understand, it doesn't matter if, and I said it already, doesn't matter if it's even over 50% true, there's some truth to it. And it's the same thing with Scott McGowan's side. It's some truth to it. We don't know the extent of the truth, but there's some truth to it. And what's unfortunate is how the Redskins handled it, even when they broke the news that he was fired. An anonymous source who had to come through from an animate, and you know what I'm talking about. I can't pronounce the damn word, but
Talk to Mike Jones or
exactly.
Well, again, I mean, word got passed to us about this, and it really made me wonder. I mean, some of the stuff, kind of rang true, but it really made me wonder, why are we hearing this?
Right?
Is it being passed out for a reason?
Move.
Yeah,
it's kind of a low. Like, these things are going to come out on its own. Like, why would you want to say that in the Post? And of course, I don't even blame the Post for taking it, because that's gold for them. But it puts the Redskins in a negative light, and it also gives off the perception that Scott was done dirty here. And I feel like he has, because of the way it was handled. He could have went out like quietly. Like, they just could have said they parted ways with him, or they agreed to separate from each other, things like that. Things would have came out later. But the way they tried to cover their ass by just trashing them in the Post, it made things even worse.
Yeah,
like, they couldn't even. They find ways to fuck things up.
Yeah, I agree. They handled it bad. There's no doubt they handled it badly.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you there. Yeah,
Totally.
I think, Steve, you have a legal background. I have a multimedia background.
Right.
we both kind of dabble in PR because of that,
Right.
just by nature. And yeah, this was probably the biggest PR botch job the Redskins have had in a long time. I want to bring up something you mentioned, the Fire Bruce hashtag.
Right.
Let's talk about that stupid protest that happened Friday at 8 in the morning out at Ashburn.
Those 10 doofuses that showed up.
Yeah. Now, you all know my background. I protest a lot. I've probably been to 100 protests in my life. I've organized, I don't know, probably 20 or helped organize at least 20 in my career. I love a protest.
They could have used your help.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Protesting 101, you don't do it in the suburbs at 8 in the morning on a work day.
Yeah.
And
if you want people to show up,
if you
right?
want people to show up, you're like hitting 0 for 3 right there, and then you don't do it in 24 hours. But, nonetheless, I think it was a dumb idea to protest, and I'll tell you why I think it's a dumb idea.
I laughed
If you fire Bruce, who's left? It's Dan Snyder running the show again. And
I'll just say
gotta
this,
make
too,
all those
that
decisions
Vinny
again.
Serrato has been running his mouth up in Baltimore on the radio about this all week. One has to think he's probably trying to weasel his way back in.
His eyes are spinning in both directions.
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
creepy.
I think the whole protest thing is stupid. And, Alex and I come from opposing viewpoints in regards to protests and whatnot, and, that's fine. I generally think most protests are a waste of time, but I thought this one was a particular waste of time.
It's a huge waste.
And
of time.
let's all say this,
and it was
because
terribly put together.
That aside, the fact that we had protests out literally at the gate of Redskins Park at the moment that Terrell Pryor was driving through the gate. Did you people realize that may affect how free agents view the Redskins? And your protest is never going to get Bruce Allen fired, because that's not why Bruce Allen is not here to manage fan expectations. He's here because he's pretty good at the business side.
The only thing that will get Bruce Allen fired is if 20,000 people show up to the opening game.
And even that, I don't think anybody would really care. I mean, Bruce is there to make money for the team. So I think that the protest was stupid, and I thought it actually could have had a negative effect on free agency if more people showed up.
I know for a fact it got to be the fact that whoever started this protest on Twitter or social media, I guarantee you he ain't even show up. She ain't even show up at the protest. It was just a whole bunch of other people who just said, "Yeah, let's do it. It's a good idea."
Point.
But he ain't even.
By the way, I got sent the Facebook invite for it, and about 40 people had signed up, and only not even 10 showed up to the thing. It was a handful.
And they literally had
people
pitchforks.
Wouldn't even made a difference.
No.
Yeah, 2 of them had pitchforks, but that's a prop. That whatever,
It's just a waste of time. Look, if you're unhappy with the status of the team, your only way to fight that is to stop buying jerseys, stop going to the games, stop spending money on the team. That's your way to fight it. These protests.
Here's what you do.
Doesn't matter.
Join me at the Washington Valor home opener in a month.
There you go. There you go.
And it's crazy because honestly, I'm not even. Truth be told, look, I have my issues with Bruce personally after these things came out, but it's not going to stop me from rooting for the team, the players themselves. That's just the truth to the matter. I could have my problems with Bruce, just like how Wizards fans have this undescribable hatred for Ernie Grunfeld, but they still root for the team. That's just what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna continue to root for this team.
Sure.
And that's the thing that I realized after the firing passed. Like, things are gonna happen, messed up things are gonna happen, but it's not gonna stop me from rooting for the team. I just don't really. I lost a little bit of respect for Bruce Allen.
I'm with you there. It's never gonna stop me from rooting for the team. I mean, I will be there. I'll be there.
Of course.
Thick or thin.
It sucks, but we gotta
I think. Yeah, exactly. And I think, I don't know if this is really that big of a thought in Redskins fandom. It's probably just the fringe, the very angry fringe I would expect that showed up there. And, whatever. We can move on from that.
Yeah.
As the old song goes, yeah. So, on a slightly positive note, we have heard a couple rumors about potential replacements for Scott McLuhan. Now, you have to think that that's going to come relatively soon, considering what's still to come in the offseason here. So, I think the biggest one that we've heard probably so far is Mike Mayock. Have you guys heard any other rumors in the last couple days?
Mike Mayock, we've heard Mark Dominic, who's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office, and we've heard Doug Williams.
Right.
Those are the 3 names we heard. I guess since I'm talking
Doug also with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers office at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. He was. Here's my opinion of it. If they hire somebody in-house to fill Scott's shoes. That'll happen fairly quickly. If they hire an out of somebody who's not already in the Redskins front office, it'll happen after the draft. Now, I think the Mike Mayock thing is just that's just wishful thinking. You know, Mike Mayock is he's smart, he's knowledgeable. You know, he's the guy everybody knows and likes because he's on the NFL Network. He does the draft.
Right.
You know, you see him
visible.
down there. You know, timing. What's the guy who runs the 40 every year? You know.
Yeah.
So that's why people are excited about Mike Mayock. There's a lot of smart football people. You know, Mayock's one. Mayock's never going to come here. In my opinion. You know, why would Mike Mayock leave a cushy, high-paying NFL Network job to jump into the fire pit of an NFL GM job? I think that's just nuts.
Especially because
these guys get off on that.
That's
why.
Here's the thing. It's a no-win situation for him.
Sure is.
All right, he might make a little bit more money as a GM. Like, I don't know what he gets paid at
He's
NFL
already
Network,
doing. He's doing well at the NFL Network. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but I'm assuming GMs make a little bit more. If he fails, he won't be able to go back to NFL Network and do mock drafts anymore because everyone's like, "Well, you sucked at this."
That's a good point.
I think the NFL Network will take him back because he has a year's work. He has years worth of work. So if it didn't work out, and he wanted to come back, then I wouldn't think they'd take him. They wouldn't deny him.
So if you were him, you wouldn't be afraid of taking the job. In other words, if you were him,
I don't think he's afraid.
He already denied it already. But
did you notice how he denied it? See, this is my lawyer hat on.
Yeah.
What he said in his denial was there have not been official talks between myself and the Redskins. That could mean that there were unofficial talks, and that's where the rumor gets started. So, you know.
It's not a no.
That's what I was going to say. It wasn't a no. And then on top of that, they said that anything with the GM position, it wouldn't happen until after the draft.
Right.
He tried to say that he's focused on the draft, which is obvious. Like, we're not going to try and contact you during this moment, but we may contact you after the draft. So
maybe I'm wrong.
He didn't say no, but
maybe I'm wrong. But I just think that's I think that's far fetched to think that Mike Mayock will actually come here to be our GM. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll eat my words if he shows up. You know, who knows?
But they don't know to me. They like Doug Williams too, from what we hear. So
yeah, I tend to lean towards the internal candidates. Doug, I would kind of love to see Doug Williams get a shot at it. You know, just for his place in Redskins history and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but what do we know about his abilities?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I have no clue. Just like Mike Mayock.
I know he was the number 2 or 3 guy back in Tampa for 2 years.
Yeah, but remember, Doug's
it was not good.
Background really is coaching. He was a head coach at Grambling for a long time.
Right.
I don't, Doug is a revered.
He's been a scout, though.
Yeah,
he's been a scout for many years, too.
Doug's a revered name, obviously, in Washington. You know, he won us a Super Bowl. I mean, we all love Doug. But I'm not sure that based on his track record, as you guys point out, in Tampa, and quite honestly, what's he really doing for us here? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, what role does he have? I don't know if he would be.
We hear stories.
Yeah, I don't know if he would be a great candidate, but for the fact that he's Doug Williams. If it was John Smith in that same role, I don't know if anybody'd be too excited about it.
I'm more interested in the other 2 names that are obviously floated around from internal candidates, which would be Scott Campbell and Alex Santos, who have both been with the team forever. I think Scott Campbell's been with us for 16 years as a scout. And I think Santos is...
Is that an endorsement or an indictment? That's the question, though.
Well, that's a fair question, isn't it? But those would be the 2 names I'd be looking at first and foremost.
I think the big problem that the fans are going to have, that are going to bring up if an internal candidate is hired and they're right to bring it up is this just a yes man?
It's a yes man.
Because what we really want, and I'll say this, I've said this before on the show, my experience in an NFL front office is that the team president isn't overly involved in football operations. Okay, you got to understand a football team there's an ownership group, there's a team president, and then there's the football side and the business side. The team president oversees both, but he's got his hands more on the business side. The general manager is the guy who runs the football operations. And what we found out in the course of the past couple weeks is that what we thought was the setup really wasn't the setup. What we thought was that Scott McLuhan was sort of controlling the football operations, although what we now figured out is that Bruce has always had his hand in that, and he's always had his control over the coaches. So what we really need, ideally, isn't necessarily for Bruce to be fired. We need Bruce to step back and take a more traditional team president role. And and the only way to do that is to have an outside GM. If you bring Alex Santos up, it's just going to be the same. So in that respect, I'm rooting for an outside candidate, whether it's Mayock or somebody else.
And I think that's a great point. I've always kind of said the team president is the guy who's having cocktails with the owners on Monday and then having beers with the GMs and all those guys on Tuesday.
Well, and the GM will come to him and say, "Listen, this is the contract we're going to offer Kirk Cousins," and they'll get the general counsel involved in that if it's complicated. But you don't have a team president watching film, and I think that's what Bruce Allen is doing at some
Well, we know that because when Davis signed, there was film of the Raiders in the background on the TV. And didn't we sign an Oakland Raider not 2 days later when free agency started?
I don't remember that. But
oh wow, nice.
Anyway, that's my thought on the whole thing.
Nice call out.
Yeah. So put 2 and 2 and 2 together. There you go.
2 and 2. I mean, but is it ever going to change? Is Bruce going to take that step back? And that's why that's where I think fans have a right to be upset about it. I'm not on the fire him train, but I am on this take a step back and chill train. That's the take a step back and chill hashtag. That's what I'd like to see out of Bruce.
But it's just really on Dan though with that.
Yeah.
On Dan
Snyder. Though I think we've seen him in some ways take a step back too. So there's hope. There's hope that this can get clarified. It's not a good look right now, and I think there's a lot of doubts about the front office.
I
and
only
it makes
hope
sense.
that Bruce says the plan was good. It's just it didn't work out between me and Scott.
Right.
That's what I hope happens.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Obviously, much more movement coming soon on that, if not before, certainly immediately after the draft, you would think. Or, like Steve said, if it's an internal guy, probably happens pretty damn soon. So, we'll see. Last thing we had on the agenda for today, guys, and I know this is such a meaty episode. We're already at an hour, but, I mean, I feel like we got to bring it up.
We got to.
The other shoe finally dropped. Kirk Cousins signed his franchise tender, which means he's locked in on that exclusive franchise tag next year. Any initial thoughts? What's jumping out to you guys about this? I mean, obviously that we knew this franchise thing was going on, so it's not like this is a surprise or a shock. But how are you feeling now that it's a done deal and it's locked in?
Alex, go first because I think you and I are going to have opposing views here. So I want to hear your take.
Well, I'm glad he signed it. I'm very, very angry about the nonstop rumor mill from I don't know who, but anonymous sources saying Kirk is going to the owner and saying I want to trade. That he is.
Demanding a trade,
that he's demanding that Bruce Allen be fired in order for them to negotiate. The rumor mill has gone into overdrive, even more so now that Kirk has signed his tender. And it's pissing me off pretty royally these days. I understand he thinks the team did him dirty. They didn't do him dirty.
No.
At no point did the Redskins give Kirk Cousins a really raw deal as a player.
Well, as it turns out, Alex, you and I are on the same side. I feel exactly like you do. I thought you were going to have a different view. Listen,
no.
A lot of this stuff is we live in a multimedia, social media age, and a lot of this stuff that's coming
It's a glorious age, Steve.
I don't know about that. I mean, we hear about a lot of things.
Embrace it, man. Embrace it.
We hear about a lot of things today that went on years ago. We just never knew about it. In this age of instant communications, like, for example, the rumor's been floating around out there for weeks. We heard it. We heard about this, a long time ago that Kirk only wanted to sign with the Niners, and the rumor's been out there. Again, if we hear stuff like that, everybody's heard it who's, a reporter and everything. A lot of this is negotiating posturing. A lot of it is just Kirk's side trying to get a better deal. I don't necessarily think that just because, Chad Ryan with RCC hears that it's 90% done, that doesn't mean that if the Redskins drop a $125 million contract in front of him, he's not going to sign it. Money talks no matter what the rumors are.
That's a great point.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, it's still going to get done. I think a good mediator, if any of you guys have been out there involved in lawsuits and you mediate a case, I think if they went to a professional mediator, this would be done in one afternoon. I really think that. I don't think it's nearly as bad it's nearly as bad as anybody thinks. I totally disagree with those of you out there who think Kirk's done. Oh my God, it's never going to happen. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to get done.
it does drive me nuts, you know, how much we're hearing in the rumor mill.
Yeah.
But I will say this, to kind of disagree with you, Steve. If Kirk did go to Dan Snyder and say, I want you to trade me, I feel like as far as a negotiating tactic, when it comes to the Redskins, that's a terrible strategy because this team is known for kind of being petty about things.
Yeah,
so I don't.
Well, that's why I think they need
a
a mediator. But I think if Kirk went to the owner, I think what that's really meaning is, listen, if you're not going to give me that contract, just let me go. I think that's what he's saying. I think it's frustration, perhaps.
Maybe.
I don't think it's
we don't know exactly
really don't.
what was said in the conversation.
Yeah. Jamal, what do you think? I feel like we cut you out. Sorry.
Oh no, you good. Nah, when it comes to the tender, first off, it should be mentioned that Adam Schefter, who has been thinking for a long time that Cousins isn't going to be here, he mentioned that now that he signed the tender, he's tradable. So that option is still out there. But
sure,
I don't have a problem with the tender. I do think that I don't have a problem with him signing it. I just hope that a long-term deal gets sorted pretty quick because we all know they're not going to franchise him again next year. So if there's no deal that gets done, we kind of know what we're heading into next year. So it's either he's here or he's literally he's going away for nothing, probably conversation pick. But the thing is, with all the rumors that's going on, when it comes to the front office and stuff, in Kirk, I think that can be, when it comes to a player, I think that can be reprimanded. So if he has a good year this year with the new weapons that he has, he doesn't have to worry. First off, he has Pryor coming in, and then you have the same offensive line. These people like Kirk, but you don't have that alpha at the wide receiver position that you had when it came to Djax or when it came to Pierre Garçon. When I mean alpha, sometimes like divas. I don't know Terrell Pryor, so I can't speak on him. But you got a young guy in Jamison Crowder. You got another guy in Jordan Reed, Doxson,
Jordan Reed.
All these guys who can follow you. Things may change this season. Like, he may have a heck of a year. We may have a playoff berth. Things may change down the line where he changes his tone. If these rumors are true, he may change his tone. Like, okay, you know what? I actually like the situation here. Let's try and get this deal done. I want to work with you guys. Let's get it done. Everything that's happened in the past is the past, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my silver lining on it. But, I mean, the way things look as of now, I don't see us getting the deal done. And I don't know. I don't think we're going to trade him to San Fran either. So that's just what I see. So
I think you're right about the first half of it. I mean, I do think we're going to get a deal done, but if they don't, a year's a long time. And you're right. I mean, a lot can happen in a year. I mean, certainly Deshaun Jackson, talented guy, mercurial personality, and Pierre Garçon kind of was too. I don't get that sense of Terrell Pryor, what very little I've seen of him. I don't get the sense that he's like that. Based on very little. So you're absolutely right. Who knows what's going to happen in a year? I think people need to relax.
Well, one thing I will say, or this is the question I've kind of been asking myself a lot lately. If we can't get a deal done, if we let's say we don't trade him, he's playing here for a tender on 1 year, or that's the plan. We need to be starting to think about plan B, right? Like, it can't be Colt McCoy. At that point we're talking about a 32-year-old Colt McCoy starting for us in 2018. Does quarterback become a priority in this draft? And if so, how much can it be a priority when this is probably one of the weakest quarterback drafts since the whole Geno Smith? Who's the other guy that was part of that terrible draft? But
several terrible quarterbacks that year.
Yeah. But that one draft that happened that nobody was any good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback is never not a priority. For when it comes to teams,
sure,
you can never have enough quarterbacks. And I think Scott McCoy, that was one of his philosophies when it came to the quarterback position as well. Like, you're always looking for a quarterback. So a situation like this where somebody's on 1 year, you don't know what's going on. You're going to get a quarterback this draft. Like,
right.
And if you don't, I'm completely surprised. But the cream of the crop is, from what I've heard from a lot of people, is next year. But at the same time, you do not bank on next year getting a quarterback. You want to get one now. especially if you don't trade Kirk. So
Well,
you have to try and get
just one
somebody.
name I saw for next year, by the way, is a kid named Rippin, who's happens to be the nephew of a former Redskins legend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
If I were the Redskins, if I were in charge, I wouldn't draft a quarterback this year. I would double down on it. Yeah, because I think if you don't trade Kirk, but you spend a high pick on somebody like Trubisky, say just to pull a name out of thin air, it's over, right? If you draft like Trubisky or Kaiser or Deshaun Watson, it's over.
If you draft anyone in the first 2 rounds, you're
it's
giving
done, right? And if you can find if you can hit on another Kirk Cousins in rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, more power to you. But to me, I think even you let Kirk play on the tag, and you spend the year trying to get a deal done. That's what I would do. And go find a bridge next year. If it's Colt McCoy or somebody else, whoever. If Cousins leaves, it's going to be bad no matter what next year, whether or not you bring a rookie in. So, you worry about it next year. That's what I would do.
I forgot to mention the transition tag. I said he wasn't going to be coming back next year, but they also can, from what I remember, get him to the transition tag next year would be like $28 million, and that will allow him to find his work from other teams as well. So he may be here next year too. But I forgot about the transition tag. So
but that's still a pretty steep price to pay for a guy.
It definitely is. I agree.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess the only thing that I would say is there was definitely a report that came out that after about a $20 million a year offer to Kirk, they were still very far apart. So, I have my doubts about whether or not a long-term deal is going to be able to get worked out, though I appreciate what you guys are saying, that a year's a long time and, anything could happen, and we'll see. I'll tell you what, though, I don't have a huge amount of confidence in what's been going on. We've obviously seen that other crazy reports have ended up being true. I would hate for us to be so far apart from Kirk and his agent on this, but who knows?
It's weird.
So fingers crossed for
weird
sure.
Me being the optimist, is a little bit of a change of roles here.
Yeah, I know. Where's that going? Yeah, where's that
don't
coming
know.
from? I'm just saying it just seems like things are not good. The vibe is not good. None of these rumored reports are positive.
And the fact that it all coincides with the McLuhan thing has made it a really bad week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and just how rarely do you give to franchise tags like that to the same guy 2 years in a row? I mean, the whole thing is just
quarterbacks never had
mismanagement and just being far apart.
He'll be the first guy
there
ever,
you go.
I think, if he plays.
It will be the first quarterback, ever.
That's what I meant. Quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's just one of those things that just doesn't give me a lot of confidence. So, obviously we'll see. Steve obviously just mentioned in the chat that there's no big news on Benny Logan yet, folks. So sorry, you'll have to keep checking on the website for the breaking news or following us on Twitter for that. So keep your fingers crossed for that as well, of course.
I mean, odds are by the time this is up, we'll know, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good point for the posting, yeah. But either way, I'm speaking to your future self now. Follow us on Twitter for all the breaking news. Actually, speaking of that, in fact, I wanted to mention to everybody listening, we love you listening to us on iTunes, of course. Would love for you to move on over to YouTube and check out some of the stuff we've got going on YouTube. So we have taken on a new project. It's called 2 Minute Warning. It's some fun videos, much more visual way to enjoy and experience the Hawks Die. So please check that out.
And Sean,
you can just check out our
giving
website.
Away too much credit. I mean, it's 99% you.
Yeah, this is Sean's project.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made 2 little video clips for you, and that's been about it.
These guys, these videos are awesome. You guys have to check them out. I really love watching the videos, and
they are fun.
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole idea is an easily digestible thing for you guys to watch. Once a week if you want to catch just the headlines. Obviously, you need to listen to the podcast for all the great details and stories. But yeah, this is a great other way to experience us here at the Hawks Die. So check that.
This week's
out.
video is just going to be a burning dumpster fire for 2 minutes.
That actually is a component of it. I'm not kidding. That's a small component of it. So yeah, there you go. There's a little teaser for you. Make sure you're watching the video. It's called 2 Minute Warning. Check it out, hogsdive.com. You can get to it from there. Anything else you guys want to say before we let these good people get back to their weekend?
Said too much.
I will say, you mentioned the Hogsdive. We've told them it's a new website. There is comment features now on our website all the time. So since we did it through WordPress, if you guys disagree with us or agree with us on a show, just let us know on the website. We want to start interacting with you guys more. And I think that might be a great way to do it. Is go on there and just bitch at us all you like.
You insider chatters,
Yeah.
you guys know who you are. Come on over to our place.
Hamsters.
Yeah.
Hamsters, I know you. Every once in a while, your paywall runs out. I know that.
Definitely true. Yeah, this is free, guys. You have no excuse. Move that.
We don't
over
have a
to
paywall.
thehogstye.com.
If you want to pay us, send us some money. I mean, we'll
That's
take
right.
it.
Yeah. Venmo
Yeah,
me.
we'll take donations any day. Yeah. All right, well, we'll let you guys get back. This has been the Hogstye. I had a great time talking to you today. Hopefully next week's a little less eventful, or if it is just as eventful, it'll be in a positive sense. So we'll see. But have great weeks. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Sunshine and lollipops.
I'm personally rooting for chaos. It's good to talk about. If we have